And we've had a little bit of a change on the desk now after our first couple of games. As you can see, everyone enjoying themselves in the building at the moment. Lots of photos being taken, lots to do here, but the main action's, of course, been on this main stage. But as I was saying, new people on the desk, smiley faces, two people who have literally been bouncing around in the green room backstage. On the far side, we have, of course, Baller. How are you doing, buddy? You have been balling about backstage. You having the time of your life right now?
Fantastically. I have been bouncing around because these games are so exciting, and there's so many good players here. All the games so far have been amazing. We had Bizzle versus Skype. We had that end game on the volcano. Like, I can't believe this.
Baller literally has done this the entire time he's been here. His calves are going to be killing him at the end of this. Stress, obviously, great to have you here. A lot of energy either side of you, but you've been doing your bit as well. You've been bouncing around as well.
I'm bouncing around. I'm hype. I can't wait to be there. This guy is an encyclopedia of knowledge of Fortnite, and every single elimination, he's like, this is such a big story. It's got to be this. We've got to talk about this. So we are ready.
He made him soup once, and it was like, we're like, oh, okay,
we're
going too deep here.
So ready to get
guys.
into another game.
You can't do me like that just because I'm excited for this. Everybody's excited. So.
I'm going to feed off it.
Yes,
that's what we're going to go for.
Please, take my energy.
Bizzle's got enough energy for everyone in the building right now. Let's talk about those first two games then, gentlemen. Obviously, we've had our first two games under the belt now. We've seen the volcano come into play in that end zone as well. What's impressed you the most, Baller?
Just how people are adapting. Everybody's deciding new drop spots. There's a lot of people in these new zones. People are using the vents. We saw Bizzle in that second game kind of stayed next to the vent the entire time and realized that going on top of it is still going to blast you up in the sky, and using that to his advantage, staying on there. I think he got top 10 or something like that in that game, and that's fantastic. These players are adapting to Season 8.
And the other half of it is, from a competitive standpoint, we've seen more eliminations in these first couple of games than we saw in the initial games of the Polish portion of the tournament last week. A little bit faster paced, and you can see nobody is shying away from some of these really high-level engagements.
Well, speaking of high-level engagements, there's one player who we should have a quick look at. 72 Hours caught up with our guys earlier today.
My training routine is usually I wake up, go in the hot tub, hang with my dog Jackson, and then play a little Fortnite, and then rinse, repeat, back to the hot tub. Yeah, I think I need to work on my early game. Right now I don't have a drop spot. It was taken by a volcano, so if I could find a drop spot that will not be eaten alive by a volcano, that would be great. Thank you. The most important aspect of the game would be adapting. Like if your drop spot gets changed, you need to be able to adapt. So adapt I will. The day I realized I was good enough to become a pro was when I was born. Easy claps. If I had to describe my playstyle, I wouldn't. Who's asking? The most satisfying moment I had in tournament was Game 6. I was really tilted, so I put on Moisty Merman, and then I won the game. Nice. So becoming a Fortnite player, the coolest experience I had is sitting here on a box doing an interview next to my friend the llama. Radical.
Okay, I mean, I'm putting it out there right now. Best interview to date. 72 Hours, you made a fan out of me, buddy. That was phenomenal stuff.
Okay, really, buddy?
Yeah, 100%. It's my kind of guy.
That sarcastic humor is what we love to see from 72 Hours. I can't get enough of it. I'm always watching the stream when I'm at home, just chilling in my box.
Just chilling in my box.
He's talking big. 2 games, there's not been too much clapping.
Not yet. 37th.
We've got 5 more games to go. We'll see whether 72 Hours can actually get himself into the game. Certain players do kind of steady themselves the later we get into a tournament. So perhaps late game, 5, 6, 7, maybe we'll see 72 Hours.
One thing that I highlighted for me from that interview as well was the fact he's saying, you know, I play Fortnite, I get straight in the hot tub. Then he's moaning about the fact that his drop spot's been taken by a volcano. Dude, there's hot springs all around that place. That should be perfect for him, right?
He's won it. He was contesting it all during the warm-up games, and he's so far made it out alive, not burned. So we'll see. He's going to continue to try to win that. I think he's contesting one of the Chinese players, actually, and we'll see if that continues to go well for him.
Okay, so looking ahead to our game number 3 before we get the action underway. A couple of players who are lingering down the leaderboard a little bit. Myth sat in 79th place. I mean, we always talk it up about, you know, these guys and how we expect them to perform, but it is a long format here. We have 7 games to get through. I mentioned it before after game number 2. One big game can put you right back in contention here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about a player like Myth who made a name for himself very early on in Fortnite. Still hasn't had the big tournament win come through it. A couple of blips on the radar early on, but every time we start seeing him getting through these early games, starting to rack up a few eliminations, like I don't think it's quite as dire as it used to be for Myth. I just want to see him put up that big game where you get a bunch of eliminations and get to that late game. Unfortunately, hasn't really happened in the first 2 so far, although he did shake off the nerves with the first engagement in game 1.
Yeah, taking out Kripa in the first game. That was a big name. I was looking at that fight backstage, and I was like, oh my goodness, Myth, you just took out Kripa. One of the people that I was expecting to do really well going here into solos just because of his Winter Royale performance. But then things switched up for him in game 2. I think it was Mies, one of the French players, and Kripa as well, kind of pinching him in Lonely Lodge. So we'll see if he's going to be able to recover and kind of come up with a new game plan going into next game.
I'm glad we're talking a little bit about the French players because the international flair here, some of the largest number of nationalities facing off against each other, and the French competitive community has shown up. We've seen some big results from Keenstar. Airwax is on the top 10 as well.
Here we go, gentlemen. I mean, you can see game 3 is underway. Baller, I cut you off for just a second there, but this is because it's all you from here, buddy. Stress and Baller, round number 3 underway. Take it away.
So, here we go, dropping into round number 3. Everybody's thanked the driver, and we are riding on with Liquid Poach, dropping in for game 3 of the ESL Katowice Royale. He's heading for that east side of the volcano for now.
He's been dropping towards that sunny steps, trying to win that drop, trying to make so nobody wants to contest him anymore, but also grabbing those early elims. It's one of the best spots out of Season 8 that's come in this northeast side.
A lot of us on the broadcast team, we've been kind of dropping as many different of the new locations as we can, figure out exactly where some of those high value pockets of chests spawn, and certainly over the steps there are some areas that are better than others, but all around the map we're going to take a look at some of our high ticket players that we're keeping a track of. Llama is here in retail. This has maybe been a little bit less of a contested area than we've seen in previous patches.
Yeah, going up against Tixi, this is one of the strongest solo squad players we've seen. He's broken many records, and Crazy Llama, actually a Japanese player, coming all the way over from Japan. We'll see what he can put out for us in terms of performance. So many international flavors here. It's so fantastic to see Crazy Llama right now really trying to find a good position. You just have that AR and the pump. So he's going to be able to have a good loadout going to get up against Tixi.
Yeah, and Tixi and Llama, they're pretty far apart at this point. If Llama can peek out, maybe get 1 or 2 shots, does Tixi know exactly where he is? He's going to build up, run right into him, takes that first tack shot, connects for the shield. Tixi drops very low from that as Llama drops off the back, only 29 health.
That's a great start there from Llama. I was going to talk about the positioning he had on top of that. He could easily track Tixi, but Tixi actually just took it straight through him on top of that blacktop. And now he's on the back foot. He's going to heal up. Llama's not really pressuring, so he can get those heals off pretty safely there.
So this is right on the safe zone edge through retail. At this point, I'm pretty sure we just saw Tixi drop off to the left side, look to disengage. This is something we saw quite a lot in the Polish tournament area. Aspect now taking on Issa in the bottom floor of this now Pirate House. As Aspect drops to 1 health, survives! Whoa!
4 builds left. He can still survive a little bit. He does have those bandages, so he's going to be able to try to pop them, but Issa also popping his minis as well. I don't know, Aspect is so close here.
Oh, peeks through the door, does get the rotation on that ramp piece, and look, Issa's going to try and go up to that first floor. Now up to the second, going to try and drop through the top here. I did see Dynamite in the inventory of Aspect, so it does have to be careful that that doesn't just get planted beneath him, but Aspect is just trying to bandage up.
Yeah, and the edits were so good to get out of there. He does have, holding that edit, making sure Issa's not going to push down, but got to be careful of all the windows around.
Importantly, in the action feed, Aiden just fell, now trying to go the hard way through the floor, trying to replace as much so that Issa can own this entire building, trying to just find any angle. There's that Dynamite we were talking about.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that for Aspect. He doesn't want to blow open any more holes for Issa to be able to find him again. Does get the pump.
Connects with that first shot as Issa now, a lot of his health has been evened up, trying to find a moment just to get those mini shield potions.
He's really opening it up here for him to find Issa, and he's out of mats now, so there's 9 builds left for Aspect, and he's kind of gotten back into his fight. He's clawed his way back in here, Stress.
Clawed his way back in, but he still needs to be able to find the angle. Aspect trying to bandage up around the corner. Oh, Issa looks for the shot, doesn't quite get it, as Aspect does end up falling in the end. A long fight around this house, but Issa comes out alive.
That fight was so important for Aspect to win. He actually has 0 points right now, all the way towards the end of the standings, and he really needs to get a confidence boost going into the next games, because 0 points at this point in the tournament, you really needed a big game or just start being consistent right here. This is make or break, and really, Aspect, that's rough for him there.
I'm glad we just took a look at Tilted, because Aiden had actually fallen earlier in this game to one of the X2 twins. We saw it in the action feed in the bottom left of your screen. This is Svenos against Airwax, two of Europe's most notable players we're seeing go head-to-head. Airwax currently hovering around about that 10th place spot in the standings, and unfortunately, on the low ground against Svenos, I feel like he's going to back away.
Yeah, one of the things here at the block, there are 3 players there. Actually, we're going to hop in with Nikov and Vilex over towards Retail Row again.
Dynamite is ticking on that fuse for now. Vilex gets kind of boxed in on the top, but now trying to look for any kind of way through onto Nikov, another one of the Solary players that we spoke about, that French-speaking community minigun we saw rampant last week in the Polish tournament. A little bit of use here from Vilex, but he can't quite get down to the bottom floor here.
Trying to get in the box as many as possible. He's going to try to take that roof piece. A little bit of time for Nikov to breathe here. We'll see how many materials he has. I did see a few elims, so he should have a few, but there's the edit. Almost gets it. Oh, he gets down the box!
In with the shotgun, and that is Svenos taking out Airwax in the kill feed. It was Nikov, ended up getting it. A lot of pressure put onto Nikov from the side.
Crazy Llama, the Japanese player we saw stalking somebody else in Retail Row earlier, and he's coming in with the grenade launcher, gets 1 tag, 100 damage on the Nikov. He's going to be able to heal up with the minis though, but still, Crazy Llama. Here he comes.
Yeah, trying to get through that top floor, tries to get the edit, doesn't quite get it in the way he wants to. Trying to find any different position for this fight. And you can see the vultures circling on the top side of the minimap just before we swapped to this wide angle on the fight. Crazy Llama is in such a good position health-wise.
I think that was his last grenade. There's no more materials here for Nikov.
Window comes out, and look, Crazy Llama trying to readjust with these ramp pieces, but he's taking shots from behind as well. Crazy Llama switches around and ends up losing the engage to Nikov.
Nikov is on a tear here in Retail Row. That's 2 in a row we saw, and I think he already had an Ilium before that, but hopefully he picks up some materials there from Crazy Llama, because the third party is coming in. But here we go, Mitro against Zate. This is such an important battle for Loot Lake.
Yeah, Mitro, a name that we caught a glimpse of earlier, but didn't really see anything in Game 2 from. One of those names that people expect a lot from. He's got moves named after him.
Yeah.
He does his 90s in a specific way. People say Mitro is one of those players to watch out for, but 0 eliminations on the board for now.
Yeah, one of the most winningest players in EU. We actually see Beehive is also setting up nearby. I think Zate decides he wants to back off from Mitro. Zate is up ahead in the standings for Mitro. I think Mitro's in around 68th position. Zate around 30-something.
Tixi now taking on Poverty. Poverty, a player in the Polish portion of the tournament that didn't really live up to a lot of the expectations that people had put on him. Ended really quite low down, especially, if I remember rightly, on the solos portion. But Tixi trying to just get any kind of sight he can. But there's a third party, as that was Zeke taking out Tixi from the side.
Those are a Polish duo. One thing I like there about what Tixi was doing, he edited his stairs and stayed on the stairs so he could look down through the wood and try to spot where that player was, Poverty. So here we go. One of the other Korean players, Envy. I think he's in a fight here, just actually turtling up a little bit. He's in the center zone, so this is what we talk about always, is try to get center zone the first, the second, the third, the fourth, because it's going to give you the biggest chance of getting that next zone.
And this is always going to be one of those questions when you look at South Korean players, typically in esports, are the pinnacle.
Yeah.
But so far, we haven't seen it. We're only 2 games in, right? There are only a few South Korean players here. It's not quite in the same way that other esports have seen dominance, and I think that makes for a very intriguing prospect the further we go through this tournament. And we do have a new zone shown up.
Yeah, and it's not going to be towards that northeast. It's actually going to go towards Tilted, towards the center of the map. And here, another one of the Korean players, Fax Fox, going up against Max Alibert. And he's going to rift out. That was a good decision here. Try to get more center zone, like I always talk about, just like we did say. He's going to rift over. See if Max Alibert decides to chase here, though. And look at that loadout. Not very strong for Faxbox.
I think this is a great time for us to talk about the mobility changes that Season 8 has brought on. We've got a lot of people up towards that northeast area. Obviously, the Stormwing was vaulted for Season 8. We also have had a removal of a lot of rifts that not a lot of people have found out until they played a bunch of games. So some of that mobility not so prevalent to get to the later zones.
Yeah. Not so prevalent indeed. The Stormwing gone and the Rifts gone. But in the northeast area, we actually have those vents, those volcanic vents, and we have cannons all around the map, which you can launch yourself all the way across. I think you can go up to 260 meters. I think that was Zacubus who said that earlier. What a nice little addition there. Those cannons, you can see one right on your screen there.
I think one of the things about them are way less controlled than the Stormwing, where you just get in the Stormwing. Yeah, exactly. You've got to make sure that you know exactly where you're aiming. Unfortunately, Tajovsky in Game 1, if you've seen the clip, off the edge of the map he went. And at this point in the game, luckily, no risk of that happening. We've got this three-tiered fight going on between Shinken and Sinnoh.
And Shinken, one of the biggest upstarts in EU recently, especially through the pop-up cups and the scrim scene. He's been winning a lot. And with his teammate Stompy, we'll see what they can do together in the duos. But for now, Shinken is actually rising in the standings in the last game. He didn't play so well in the first game, but now I think he's up top 50 at least. So we'll see. This is actually a spot that we've seen so many players just kind of turtle up on. It used to be that this broken house here was one where all the engagements were happening and there was nothing really to turtle up on because there's so many cracks in the wall. But here's a replay here. Bowman onto Kinzel, just opening that window. I think he was stuck in the football net, as you would say there.
Yeah, stuck in the net, but got a lot more than just net at that point. As Nikov, we saw some of his engagements to start off. This was the drop in that Nikov ended up picking up that elimination from. As a second challenger approached for the rest of that package. And this is this moment of the game where everybody's trying to get into this zone. There's a lot of distance to cover. And as we said, mobility highly reduced. So this is a kind of moment where you look at the players like Maxcalibur, there's not a whole lot of fighting actually going on within this building.
Yeah, and actually Demo, speaking of not a lot of fighting, he's where he drops. This is where he stayed, and he just stayed the entire time. You can see him boxing up in the metal. That's what you're going to be able to get from Divot. Or at least the diner or the factory, as it's called as well. Trying to drop down Fa here, one of the Brazilian players.
Yeah, trying to just pyramid his way to safety and stay alive inside the building from here. You can see Zexro on the top of your screen. Had a good performance in the last game. Actually placed second, lost out to Keenstar in that 1v1 for the Victory Royale. And Keenstar is currently top of the standing, so that's how important that 1v1 can be, plus those eliminations from the game. But certainly Zexro having a good performance.
Indeed. There you can hear another Rift to Go going off. Everybody's vying for positioning now. There's 70 players still remaining. They're all kind of boxing up and deciding, hey, how do I want to approach this endgame? Actually taking a shot.
That's ambitious.
Yeah, just a little bit ambitious. He doesn't hit anything there, just the top of the pyramid.
Testing the wind at this point.
Imagine if you could just curve your bullets like that. We'd have some crazy plays with that.
I'm kind of glad you can't, I'll be honest. There's enough craziness that goes on, and we definitely see that towards the end game. But build up as Selsma kind of doesn't quite find the build to start, but has found that position on the side of the cliff.
Yeah, one of the things, though, that zone just ended up closing, so the new zone isn't going to be where... Oh, no, the launch pad, unfortunately, he didn't think about and look up. That's one of the things always...
Everyone's done this.
Yeah, everyone has. You don't really think about it when you're kind of under in the open of Dusty Divot.
Is he setting a trap for somebody else to use the launch pad and then hit the roof, bounce back, and try and pick up an elimination?
It's possible. There's 72 hours. You can actually see him in the outside the zone. He just used one of those vents. He's going to rotate in the zone. And Lil J onto Kaiser and Jamside. Jamside is doing really well in the standings as well.
Yeah, doing very well. We saw Little J make it to one of the later storms in the first two games. But one of the Chinese players represented here at the ESL Katowice Royale.
I think he needs to take a page here out of 72 Hours' book and go into that zone. It's still only 2 tick. Go into that zone, grab the vent, and rotate in because he doesn't want to use those launch pad. That mobility is such a good resource.
Yeah, especially for later in the game, right? When you start getting those moving zones come through. There's Cripper we saw losing out to Myth in game number 1, but has made his way pretty deep in this third game of the day. History, one of the Brazilian players represented here.
Kripa, one of the strongest players that impressed me from Winter Royale. He has been on a tear as well. So he's one of the, like Shinken and Boyer and his duo, doing with Boyer. He's been doing so well in pop-up cups, so well in scrims. Everybody's excited to see what they can show for us here. But actually, Zizma's in a box there with History. He's got to be careful. History's going to back out.
Yeah, Zizma trying it.
There, he's got the wall.
And he has got the window, but it just doesn't reset. He's trying to reset it just to try and get that angle on the fight. Oh, the block. Who actually has this? Is it still History? Has the edit on this, but is forced back behind the ramp because every time he switches, there's another shot.
Yeah, this is exactly what we actually do within the pro scene to practice box fights. They literally just get in a box next to each other. But now, finally, I think that's Demo up top says, "Hey guys, you guys, I want to join in the fun too." So he puts an end to that. And they're gonna relax a little bit. You see History holding the stairs there because he can see through and see what Zizma is going to do. They're
going to have to move, though, as this storm...
And that's a huge problem for Zizma because he wasted that launch pad. So now he has nothing. All he has to do is break through the roof of that, but that's going to take forever, so he's going to be on foot.
Big European name at the bottom left of your screen, Camo. Did set a world record for solo versus squads, one of the things that people like to track. Yeah. A great player in his own mind. I'm excited to see him playing up against some of the world's best as well as History. He's gatekeeping this storm. Doesn't quite connect with the first one, but that is a lot of shots that connect in the end. He's trying to hunt down this elimination for himself, and he does.
Teammate on teammate again. And that's interesting there. Brazilian players. He's going to actually have a redeploy, so he's going to catch up to the zone.
Ooh, grenades raining down onto Svenos.
Yeah, that's Lil J again. Really harassing with that grenade launcher. A lot of players would kind of opt to save that ammo for a little bit later, because we're only going to the fourth zone here.
Some big European names in this area. Svenos, Skype, Vivid is over to the left side of your screen. There's 72 Hours from America over there as well.
And Animal as well. So
there's someone big from everywhere.
It's so stacked. Literally everywhere I look, I see a player that I need to point out. And now, going into that fourth zone, we got 50 seconds till it moves. Lolito actually may be looking to get a little bit of aggressive onto Svenos. For now, it's going to be calm. They don't have too far to go for this zone, so it's not probably going to go to an engagement unless they decide, hey, I actually need some elims. Ooh! Lolito maybe had the idea to go into zone to get Svenos there, but no.
Yeah, didn't end up committing to it, although Lolito did end up falling. Was that to Skype? It looked like that was the engage there.
Yeah, Skype's rushing over there. I think he might have some loot there, so he could have gotten him. So that's nice for Skype. He's one of our top players. He dropped to 6th place in the last game, but he's playing so consistently. And that's what you need to do in this tournament. So, again, fourth zone closing. Everybody's making their way in. There's still a lot of players outside of zone.
And with such a stacked field, you look at the fact that Sky doing well has been a winner in the past. Bizzle doing well, he's won as well. Yeah. As Sky, we are watching on with him.
What a nice there by Sky. He actually edges his way in zone, so that's going to close, and he's going to stay in it. And he used that medal that he picked up from that player on the side there.
Poverty trying to follow Rizat up the mountain. If you can get any kind of sight, that's one shot for that elimination. Saf is up here as well. Saf is going to try and get that easy elimination off the side.
Got to be careful, though.
Poverty's here as well.
Saf just jumped off his high ground. That might be, well, the zone is still moving, so that makes sense. He's actually going to leave from Rizat.
Yeah, hopefully, in his mind, if Rizat ends up going in front of him, that'll be an easy pickoff. But Saf... Ooh.
He knows.
Yeah, Saf knows. He's putting it up behind him to make sure he's covered.
Great awareness there. Saf definitely trying to get one of those big performances because he definitely didn't have enough points to go into the next game. I think he had 0. There's Kinstar.
Yeah, that's our points leader. Still alive in this game. Still safe, trying to get points.
Man, that's consistency. Look at Skype. Look at Kinstar. Look at all these big players.
72 Hours. They're going to have to move soon. Everybody's got to go when this zone changes.
Half in, half out zone coming right now. There it is.
Seen the storm surge warning as well.
Bottom right of Loot Lake here. Everybody's a little bit nervous when it comes to Loot Lake, but I think people are very comfortable now. And as we get the mats on Elim, it's harder to move there.
Harder to move, and we'll see who ends up being the first to move. Saf did just get an elimination for himself.
Yeah, one point I want to talk about this zone is it's going to go over towards that little bit of slight incline, so people might decide to go a little bit late here if they have launch pads. Nate Hill as well, onto Demo, onto Saf. Everybody's trying to hold these players out of zone, try to get as many tags as they can.
So difficult once those miniguns spin up the direction. to hear where everything's coming from. There's just so much obstruction on that noise coming through. As now we're on with Mitro. Mitro, no eliminations, but has an RPG. We'll see whether Mitro can find an angle, trying to just get away through.
Sneaking his way, trying to get that rocket launcher into there while everybody's shooting. But here's the rush towards the zone. Everybody's going to decide, hey, I want to use all the mobility that I can from others. You see Nate fighting Demo on the side as well. He just took him out, I believe.
Keenstar manages just to jump onto that launch pad as Nate doesn't quite manage to get there in time. Nikov running and tracking through the bottom of this. Now everybody lands on one.
So this is what I was talking about. Zeke landing towards that hill here. Imagine also doing the same thing. A lot of players deciding to land inside over towards that hill, because if it does go that way, you're just going to be able to build up so easily. Here, Animal on high ground. He's taking shots at players flying in.
He's just trying to get anything. Hit some shields, gets anything he can. Importantly, I believe Jesse from the X2 Twins was still alive, and Jordan I just saw as well. So this time they are lasting a little bit later. We're into the points now on placements. There's 42 players remain. We crossed that 50-player barrier. That now means everybody will at least have scored points.
Jam side taking out Boyer in the Elam feed there. Nice. And we'll see Jamside, one of our top players as well. There's so many of these consistent players up still. Shinken, Vinny, Zate, Jesse, Australia showing up strong in this game.
You said Vinny, he's a player that recently having a surge, and in this tournament so far has performed very well as well. So we saw him just last week, or just this week, signing to TSM. So it's just such a big, massive names right now in this final set of zones.
Skyte's still up as well there. You can see him taking some shots. And there, all the clinger spam, everybody is just trying to get any shots they can on people. They never know how low players are going to be, so it's always valuable to take shots. Obviously, you're opening yourself up to a little bit of a risk when you do it, and it is going to go north into zone, but hold on.
Jordan just picked off Camo in that action feed. Vivid trying to track across the top of this one, and here they go. As the storm moves, so does everybody with it, and this is where so many eliminations start happening, and they are so key. As Animal picks up one for himself, Zeke is able to get away from that tricky situation, stuck on 3 eliminations for himself, and now we're in tight corners.
Animal, one of the best endgame players at this pathing, exactly what you see him doing right now, but Razaru again on high ground, he's taking it, and I think he has it. So, Mitro up, Vinny up.
Jules trying to track up. Let's see that he doesn't go too high and die to fall damage like he did in game number 2. Poverty trying to track up as well against Raspberry. Poverty actually has stolen the high ground away, but on the low ground is where most of the action is. Jesse trying to make his way. Hupek on such low health, and we can see Funk Bomb right at the bottom. Poverty drops down, takes a massive shotgun shell from Razaru. Poverty's going to drop. That's it. Poverty's out from that high engage, and Razaru is the only player stuck at the top of the screen.
This was the issue last time for Razaru. He had high ground, but he got it stolen from him, and this time he didn't. He keeps to hold it.
26 builds left, so he has enough to stay in the zone for now, but he's going to need some of them from further eliminations. 0 eliminations in this game, and opting mainly for placement points as we continue. 15 builds as he puts a new ceiling on the house.
72 Hours just got 2 Elims in the zone. He's so close. I think he just got another one down on low ground as well.
He's in the storm, though, ends up falling to it as Mitro tries to get the high ground. Massive damage comes through as Mitro checks above him just to make sure there's no rifts. Nobody circling the skies.
Yeah, 7 players left. Mitro on high ground. This is exactly where he sells. He has the RPG, but he's no ammo. So we'll see what he's able to do from high ground. Animal's still up as well. Nikov. So many big names in this endgame. Here's Animal. He goes down to Vato.
Vato, really big pickoff from the low ground there.
Oh, actually, somebody took high ground. Who is that? Mitro. No, it's still Mitro. I forgot about him up on high. How could I forget about Mitro? 6 players left.
That's when you end up eliminated by Mitro. It's when you forget about him and he's in a building with a trap. But at this point, Mitro still has that high ground. Jules is up there with him. If Mitro can win this exchange, that puts him in such a good position. But low ammo, 9 shells left.
All he has is shotgun shells and builds. That's all he can do. But it's actually going to go over old builds, so he's going to be able to drop out pretty safely and conserve a lot of materials. But that rift is up in the sky. We got to see. Okay, nobody diving on him. That's a sigh of relief for him.
Sigh of relief, but it also means he's got to have to build back down. Majin has had a great game so far. I've seen his name constantly in the action feed. Those eliminations have been ticking up.
Stuck in zone, though. That's going to be it for him. He goes down the zone. 5 players left. Okay, now 3. 2 elims at the same time.
That's how quick this goes in these late games. When you just get any kind of sight on an opponent, you can get that pickoff, get that elimination.
All these old builds, so important for Mitro. He's low on materials. He's just using these. It's going all over, but now it's going to be the end. And you can see Jules trapping down. If Mitro dropped on him, that would have been really nice.
Just hiding a trap anywhere at this point if you can end up dropping them through.
This is an issue here for Mitro. He does not have the materials to fight Jules here. He needs to possibly keep away. Fat Toe has the advantage, I think, going all the way down to low ground, but Jules actually dropping down. He decides, yes, I want to do this. So Mitro actually back to the advantage.
Ooh, Mitro going to have to build his way down the stairs as Vato does end up losing to Jules. It's a 1 versus 1. Mitro is nearly on the low ground, but now the shotgun maybe comes into effect. He really only needs 1 shot to connect to pick up this game for himself, and with the high ground, he's just trying to find any kind of position that he can.
It's only a green, though, and that shot was so close from Jules. 80 there!
Oh, Jules takes it! Jules steals away the game from Mitro with 6 eliminations to his name and the victory royale.
That is such a strong performance. One of the, I think it was mostly EU only in that end game there, and Jules, he was in the end game in the second game, and then he fell to fall damage, but no, this time he decides, hey, I want to go down. I remember last game, and cleans it up. What a strong performance there.
Really strong performance. It looked like Mitro had it, but as you said, it's all about that equipment, the inventory. Didn't have the ammo to take a long-spaced fight, leaves it to a shotgun duel, and Jules gets it.
I mean, we were talking about the French community turning up. Another win under the belt for them now, and I mean, Jules, 6 eliminations to go alongside it as well. Mitro, he had so many decisions to make towards the end of that game. He thought he's got the high ground, but I think in the end it was kind of, he was stuck between, you know, I don't have any weaponry of distance where I can pop any shots down to get the eliminations on the board. So he's forced to take that 1v1 at the end. It didn't work out for him, but Jules, we need to give him all the credit in the world. These French guys, they like Poland at the moment, right?
Les Français sont arrivés. The French have arrived.
I was going to say, absolutely. I had no idea what you said.
All these players from Solary and the rest of the community as well. Jules, that's the second time. We saw Mies pop off as well. Skite was in that endgame as well. I think these standings, when we get to see them, they're going to be a lot of French flags going up in there. And that's exciting for them. I'm super hyped.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the French guys are turning up. Skite, again, another player I think we really need to keep a focus on now that we're going into game number 4. And obviously, we've got 7 rounds to go here because he has been in that end game every single time, pretty much, that we've seen him so far.
And that's one thing from the Polish portion of this tournament that had the same point structure. The consistency is what will put players at the top, especially when it's picking up a few eliminations and high placement. We're seeing some massive eliminations compared to last week.
One of the things I always talk about in these types of tournaments is maximizing every single game's points potential. So go for those elims, go for the high placement. You got to get the win, and you got to get as many elims as possible while doing it.
Okay, well, gentlemen, fantastic job as always. Now we're going to go down to the floor with Adam. He is with our winner of game number 3. It is, of course, Jules.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks, lads. I'm joined here by Jules. What an incredible display. GG, my friends. Walk us through the game. How did it feel for you?
I was pretty lucky. I rotated to Fatal, and I had a Rift vending machine for wood, so I bought 2. And I had like 1 pad, and I was really lucky for that.
So when you get to the end game, do you choose to play aggressively, or do you kind of hold back? Because there's lots of different ways you can earn points.
I try to temporize the more time that I can with the Rift, and I play aggressive for the end, yeah.
And lastly, what is it like playing with the creme de la creme, like the best players in the world? Is it a fun experience? Is it nerve-wracking? How do you feel?
I feel really good right now, yeah.
Well, we are very lucky to have you here. Congratulations. Our Game 3 winner is Jules. Big round of applause, please. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Okay, au revoir. That was brilliant. Let me know what you guys of the desk thought as well. Mark, Game 3. What an absolute doozy that was. Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Adam. Always good to hear from these guys. I won't do my French because I've learned all my French from Only Fools and Horses, and basically it means
I'd have to excuse your French.
So yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously hearing from him there, saying that he was feeling good after his drop there.
Yeah. Adam said,
that's a nice way to put it.
Adam said, oh, wow, let's see you later. And I think he's going to definitely be back up on that stage, judging by the performances so far in game 2 and 3.
Really, though, the discussion on mobility puts a big ticket, and you can see as the standings come up how some of the players over the last few games have actually performed. Jules taking that 2nd spot on it, and that mobility helped him do it. The Rifts, nobody else has the planes, any of the mobility tools anymore, so flies up the standings.
Yeah, and you can see, you know, Kinstar still holding down that #1 spot at the moment. He certainly is the player to watch at this point after, you know, that win coming in from Jules. But you can see how tight it really is between that top 10 at the moment after 3 games as well. Nobody really separating themselves too much at the moment. We talk about staying in striking distance. I feel like with this particular format, if you can stay within striking distance when there's 3 games or so to go, you still have a chance of taking home that top spot. And that's, like you're saying, maximize your points in these first few games.
Yeah, one of the things in this format, there's a lot of volatility at the top. We'll see pretty much always a little bit of a shake-up. But it's going to be that consistency and then being in striking distance, like you said, because the last game, that's what we saw in the Polish event. It was always coming down to that last game to decide the winner. And yeah, actually one player that I wanted to touch on real quick in terms of eliminations is Vinny. He's getting up there. He's not really getting the huge placements. He is getting in the end game, but he's getting so many elims, and that's putting him up there. So I think he overtook Bizzle even.
Okay, we'll all keep our eyes on Vinny, of course. But for now, that's going to do it for our 3rd game. We're going to go for a break now. When we get back, it's game number 4.